Hi Lana, hello and welcome once again to Lana's Coach. So we're going to basically look at the differences between quantitative and qualitative research. Now, these are two common methods that people normally use to carry out their research. So it's very important that we define the differences between the two. We are going to be guided by the key objectives. Like for instance, number one, you're going to see the differences, the common differences between these two research methods. And of course, you're going to look at the best data collection techniques that you should be able to use when undertaking this kind of research. We are going to look at a typical example of how to use either qualitative and quantitative research. And of course, we are going to finalize this particular discussion by analyzing some sample qualitative and quantitative data, and maybe the kind of tools that you need to use are going to be discussed in this particular video. So the main difference actually is going to rotate or surround the research methods on how we use these particular methods, how we analyze data, yeah, and of course how to answer different research questions. So that's what's going to determine the key differences between these two research methods. So let's maybe dive and look at the main differences. Now, in quantitative research, it focuses on testing theories and hypotheses, right? We know what theories are, right, and hypotheses, right? Then in qualitative research, it focuses on exploring ideas and formulating a theory or hypothesis. So that is one difference that is noted. So one focuses in testing theory, one focuses in formulating the theory. The second difference is that with quantitative research, it is analyzed using some mathematical and statistical analysis, right? As maybe you're going to look at an example. In qualitative research, it analyzes data through summary and categorization and interpretation, right? So that's the second differences that we can always establish between the two research methods. The third one, based on the second based on the second point, this can always be reinforced by a use of numbers when you're actually analyzing this kind of research. So it's mainly expressed in numbers, graphs, and tables, right? So that is quantitative, right? But in qualitative research, it's mainly expressed in what? In words, as you're going to see just in a short while. Then in quantitative research, it requires many respondents. Yeah, so the population that you're going to do research on and should be bigger, right? This one requires fewer. Qualitative research requires fewer research respondents, right? Then in quantitative research, the other key difference is that in quantitative research, it uses closed questions like multiple choices. Whereas qualitative research, it uses what? Open-ended questions. I think the last key difference is that the key terms here, when we're using quantitative research, we're using the testing, measurement, objectivity, right, and replicability. Whereas in qualitative research, the key terms is about understanding, complexity, and of course context. Yeah. So these define the key main differences. So maybe just to understand differences, again, we need to look at the data collection methods or techniques that these two research methods use. Now, when you're collecting data for quantitative data research, we need to use surveys, right, and experiments and observations, right? So surveys is very important because it's going to ensure that you have some kind of closed questions or multiple choice, right? So you can actually do the surveys in person. You can create some online options using Survey Monkeys, and you can also do this over the phone. Experiments is another method that you can use in quantitative, yeah, like a situation in which variables are controlled and manipulated. So here we check on the cause and effect relationships, right? Then we have observation. The best quantitative data collection method is via observation. Yeah, just by looking at how things are being done, right? So observing subjects and natural environment where variables can't be controlled. So those are the methods that can be used in quantitative data collection. Then we have qualitative, right? So qualitative data collection method that is normally used is through interviews. Interviews, you can use it to ask open-ended questions verbally to your participants or respondents. Then you also have focus group, right? Where discussion among group of people about a particular topic that can further enhance a particular research. And of course, the best or the other qualitative data collection method is through literature review. Whatever has already been published, right? The documentation, you can always check on those particular information and make some informed choice. So you can survey published work by other authors. Right, so those are the key data collection methods in qualitative and quantitative. Then, we need to ask ourselves, when do we need to use qualitative and when do we need to use quantitative research, right? So as you can see here, a rule of thumb for deciding whether to use qualitative or quantitative data is one. Actually, there are two. So number one, you need to only use quantitative research if you want to confirm or test something, right? So it's a theory of hypothesis here. So if you need to confirm or test something, use quantitative research. If you want to understand something, yeah, use qualitative research. So this is about concepts, going through some thoughts and experiences. Yeah. So again, if you want to use quantitative research, you do it to confirm or test something. If you want to understand something, you need to use qualitative research. So these are these two ways on how or when to use a particular research method. Then we have some typical examples, right, that you can always maybe use. Like for example here, we can determine a quantitative research by doing some survey on 300 or thereabout students within your university or any your population, and you can ask them such simple questions, right? Like on a scale of 1 to 5, right? How do you rate, or how are you satisfied with your professors, right? Then you can perform or carry out some statistical analysis on the data and draw conclusions such as maybe some based on the average of students rated their professors, maybe 4.4, 2.2, and so on, right? So this is just an example of a quantitative research. Of course, we have another example of qualitative research. So based on the differences, we can now see how we can establish a particular qualitative research. So here an example can be an example is you can conduct an in-depth interviews with your students, maybe 15 to 20, and ask them some open-ended question, such as how are you satisfied with their studies, right? So here is going to give them a room, right, to maybe give you more information. What is the most positive aspect of your study program, and what can be done to maybe improve the study program? So here, students are given some kind of open-ended questions that they need to do or give some information. So those are two typical examples that you can use to distinguish between qualitative and quantitative research. Now, at the tail end, how do you analyze sample quantitative data, for example, right? Now that you have seen the difference between the two. So quantitative, as you have seen, it is based on what? Numbers, right? So we can do some simple math or more advanced statistical analysis, right, just to discover the patterns in the data, right? Then we can always report using some kind of graphs and tables. Now, if you're keen, there are some videos within this particular channel. I've taught you how to use SPSS to do some kind of analysis, right? So I'll share the link within the description so that at least you can know how to use SPSS. So applications that can allow you to analyze qualitative data are simple as Excel. Yeah, Excel is a very common application that allows you to do some kind of quantitative data analysis. We also have SPSS, right, that you can achieve with this. And then also we have R that can be used to calculate things such as average scores. I mean, things to do with the numbers, yeah. The number of times a particular number was given, reliability, and to determine reliability and validity of these particular results. And most importantly, you can perform some kind of correlation between causation of two or more variables, right? Then we also have how we can analyze qualitative data, right? So qualitative is not really that specific, right? So it's more difficult to analyze than quantitative data because it consists of a lot of text, images, videos, right? So the common approaches that you can always use in analyzing qualitative data might include things such as a qualitative content analysis, right? This involves tracking the occurrence, positioning and meaning of words or phrases, right? And of course, we have thematic analysis that does close examination of data, maybe to identify how the patterns and the themes are carried out. And of course, you can also create some discourse analysis. Yeah, this involves studying how communication works in a given social context, right? So these are just examples of how you can analyze quantitative and qualitative data. So I think up to now, ladies and gentlemen, you should be in a position to clearly use the right data collection method for this respective qualitative or between qualitative and quantitative research. And of course, you are also in a position to determine the key differences between the two. So should you find this particular information useful, always feel free to click on the like button. Also click on the thumb, and also just don't forget to subscribe. All right, thanks.